Malaysia calls for a special US-ASEAN summit on tariffs. Canada amps up retaliatory measures against Trump's tariffs. Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Otto Othman and you're watching World Today. As the 2025 ASEAN chair, Malaysia has formally requested a special US-ASEAN summit to address growing concerns over tariffs, with all ASEAN leaders agreeing to attend the proposed meeting in the United States. The request, made through Malaysia's foreign ministry, is currently awaiting response from Washington on the summit's timing. Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said the initiative underscores ASEAN's collective stance of avoiding retaliatory tariff measures and prioritizing continued engagement with the US. He added officials from the ministry, along with representatives at the Malaysian embassy in Washington, are actively engaging with their American counterparts. The country remains committed to a rules-based multilateral trading system and views the current pause in reciprocal tariffs by the US as an opportunity for further dialogue and negotiation. Malaysia's applied effective tariff rate on US goods currently stands at approximately 5.6%. Meanwhile, Laos, seeking a discussion with ASEAN on the United States' reciprocal tariffs, said the 90-day pause is a very short time for the country to engage and negotiate on the matter. Laos Deputy Finance Minister Salutvat Solvana Komkon said the negotiations is anticipated to take longer than 90 days and will likely be difficult and challenging for the many countries, especially smaller nations and economies like Laos, whose bargaining powers are not as strong or influential.
It's very short from my view, and I think it's going to take longer. And it's going to be difficult, of course, and challenging for many countries, especially small countries and small economy like our country, because the bargaining power is is not that powerful or influence. So therefore, we expect the negotiation will be more longer than expected.
Despite that, Solvat, when met in Kuala Lumpur yesterday, said the country is seizing the opportunity presented by Washington to hold discussions with ASEAN member states and other nations affected by the global trade war. Through discussions with the US, he said Laos is also seeking ways to improve trade and investment for the benefit of both countries. Washington on Wednesday announced a 90-day pause in elevated reciprocal tariffs involving other 75 countries' trading partners, including Laos. US President Donald Trump's tariff policy has caused a marked increase in the risk of higher inflation and slower growth, a senior Federal Reserve official said on Thursday, adding he would prioritize tackling inflation. Trump's stop-start tariff rollout has roiled global markets and tanked consumer confidence, although it has not yet fed through into higher prices for consumers. Kansas City Fed President Jeff Schmidt said there is a growing possibility that in setting policy, the Fed will have to balance inflation risks against growth and employment concerns. Schmidt also warned of the potential for tariffs to have a long-lasting impact on inflation. Financial markets see a roughly 80% probability that the Fed will make no change into its interest rate next month, holding it at between 4.25% and 4.50% according to data from the CME Group. Speaking later Thursday, Boston Fed President Susan Collins said it was possible that underlying inflation could rise well above 3.0% this year, thanks to tariffs, adding that it seemed appropriate to keep interest rates unchanged for the time being. Collins also said that it might still be appropriate to lower the federal funds rate later this year. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney addressed supporters at the rally on Thursday, emphasizing his government's commitment to countering U.S. tariffs with retaliatory measures aimed to minimizing impact on Canada while inflicting maximum pain in the U.S.
We are fighting unjustified U.S. tariffs, including those on steel and autos with counter tariffs of our own. And those are designed to cause maximum pain in the United States, but have only a minimal impact here in Canada. We are protecting our workers and businesses because we're using every dollar that we collect from those retaliatory tariffs, and we use it to protect our workers. But above all, what we are doing is we are building Canada strong. Canada strong.
Carney assured the crowd that funds from these tariffs would be used to protect Canadian workers and businesses. But above all, Carney said, with this government is building a strong and resilient Canada. Rally attendees expressed confidence in Carney's leadership, highlighting his focus on free trade and climate change initiatives. Tech giant Apple chartered cargo flights to ferry 600 tons of iPhones, or as many as 1.5 million, to the United States from India. This is after it stepped up production there in an effort to beat President Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, the details of the push provide an insight into the U.S. smartphone company's private strategy to navigate around the Trump tariffs and build up inventory of its popular iPhones in the United States, one of its biggest markets. Analysts have warned that U.S. prices of iPhones could surge, given Apple's high resilience on imports from China, the main manufacturing hub of the devices, which is subject to Trump's highest tariff rate of 125%. That figure is far in excess of the tariff of 26% on imports from India, but which is now on hold after Trump called a 90-day pause this week that excludes China. The company lobbied Indian airport authorities to cut to 6 hours the time needed to clear customs at the Chennai airport in the southern state of Tamil Nadu, down from 30 hours. As Apple diversifies its manufacturing beyond China, it has positioned India for the critical role. Foxconn and Tata, its two main suppliers there, have three factories in all, with 2 more being built. Versace has been taken over by rival Prada in a deal that unites 2 of the biggest names in the world of luxury fashion. Now, the move was announced on Thursday in Milan by the Prada Group, which also owns other luxury brands such as Miu Miu and Churches. In recent years, Versace, named after the company's founder Gianni Versace, has been under the umbrella of the U.S.-based Capri Holdings. The purchase price was reported to be $1.4 billion. There had been speculation about the takeover for months. However, there were several obstacles that had to be overcome before the 2 Italian houses could team up. The punitive tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump on other countries, include Italy, were also a cause for concern. Prada was founded in 1913, and Capri Holdings still owns brands such as Michael Kors and Jimmy Choo. Company founder Gianni Versace was murdered in the United States in 1997. A month ago, his sister, Donatella Versace, resigned from her post as creative director after almost 3 decades in the role. Argentina extended a multi-billion-dollar currency swap agreement with China on Thursday, despite fierce opposition to the deal in Washington. Now, the cash-strapped South American nation extended the $5 billion accord with Beijing for 1 more year, securing high, much-needed foreign reserves. The deal has become yet another front in a battle between Washington and Beijing for influence in Latin America. A serial defaulter, Argentina has struggled to get enough foreign currency to pay off international debts while keeping its own currency stable. Thursday's deal gives Argentina access to more Chinese yuan in return for China gaining pesos and influence as a lender of last resort. U.S. President Donald Trump's top Latin American envoy, Mauricio Clever Caron, recently described the swap agreement as extortion and said Washington wanted to see it end. The deal extension comes at a sensitive time. Argentina is close to securing a $20 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund. The deal has already been tacitly approved by IMF working groups, but will be considered by the board in the coming days. China insists its own deal helps stabilize the Argentine economy. The Argentina-China deal also comes as the U.S. Treasury announced that Secretary Scott Bessent will visit Argentina on Monday. The U.S. Treasury is said to be considering its own direct financing line for Argentina. All foreign visitors traveling to Thailand by air, land or sea must complete the Thailand Digital Arrival Card or TDAC online 3 days before arrival starting 1st of May. Now, the electronic arrival card will replace the disembarkation card, also known as the TM6 card. Spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Nikordej Balakura, explained that the TDAC system has been deployed or developed to facilitate the entry of foreign travelers by employing modern, smart travel technology that is both fast and secure. The measure aims to enhance convenience for travelers and ensure that information provided is utilized to offer appropriate care and assistance to tourists and international visitors arriving in Thailand. This will support other critical purposes, such as the public health monitoring. Once submitted, the TDAC can be downloaded from the confirmation email received, which can then be presented to immigration officials upon arrival in Thailand. Applications can also be edited, and group submissions are permitted. Up next, helicopter crashes into New York's Hudson River, killing all 6 aboard. Hamas welcomed the announcement by French President Emmanuel Macron that his government may recognize the state of Palestine by next June. Hamas official Mahmoud Mardawi ascribed the announcement as an important step if implemented and a positive shift in the international stance on the legitimate national rights of the Palestinian people. Hamas also urged more countries to follow suit through the United Nations as a form of pressure on Israel. On Wednesday, Macron stated that France plans to recognize the state of Palestine in the coming months and may make an official announcement at the UN conference in New York in June. Mardawi added that France's move is significant as the country is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, with veto power. Currently, nearly 150 countries recognize the state of Palestine. In May last year, Ireland, Norway and Spain announced their recognition, followed by Slovenia in June. These moves were partly driven by outrage over the high number of civilian casualties in Israel's large-scale attacks on Gaza. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Thursday reaffirmed Turkey's commitment to working with Indonesia on the reconstruction of Gaza and advancing the Palestinian cause, he said during a joint press conference with visiting Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto. Now, the meeting comes amid ongoing devastation in Gaza following Israel's subsequent military response. Erdogan criticized Israel's stance against a two-state solution and highlighted the urgency of international support for Palestine. President Prabowo was welcomed with full honors at the presidential palace earlier in the day and later addressed the Turkish parliament, a move Erdogan described as a symbol of long-standing brotherhood between the two nations. Beyond the Gaza issue, both leaders pledged to deepen cooperation in a range of sectors, including defense, health, energy, and food. On the economic front, the two leaders reviewed steps to raise bilateral trade volume to a targeted $10 billion. Prabowo is also attending the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, which Erdogan said reflects Turkey's rising influence in global diplomacy. Speaker of the Arab Parliament, Mohammed bin Ahmed al-Yamahi, affirmed that the Palestinian cause has consistently received unwavering support from the members of the non-aligned movement since its inception. Now, this support is rooted in their full belief in the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, particularly in the establishment of their independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. Now, addressing the non-aligned movement parliamentary network, al-Yamahi called for a decisive and robust stance against the genocidal war and brutal massacres perpetrated by occupying entity against the Palestinian people. He also urged the rejection of any plans or attempts to displace Palestinians from their historical land. Now, these remarks were delivered during al-Yamahi's speech at the 4th conference of the Non-Aligned Movement Parliamentary Network in Turkmen, now Uzbek capital, held on the sidelines of the Inter-Parliamentary Union meetings. Now, the Speaker of the Arab Parliament underscored the necessity of upholding and enforcing international law and the resolutions of international legitimacy across all countries without exemption. A tourist helicopter crashed into New York City's Hudson River on Thursday, killing all 6 aboard, including 3 children. New York Mayor Eric Adams said the victims, the pilot and 5 passengers, were believed to include a family from Spain. The New York helicopter's tour aircraft departed at 2:59 p.m. local time and later lost control, hitting the water upside down near Lower Manhattan at around 3:15 p.m. and becoming submerged in the river. New York City police divers and FDNY divers helped remove the victims from the water. 4 were pronounced dead at the scene, while 2 others were taken to area hospitals where they succumbed to their injuries. The Federal Aviation Administration said the helicopter was a Bell 206, adding that the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate, with the NTSB leading the investigation. The source familiar with the investigation confirmed that the helicopter was owned by a company called Meridian Helicopters out of Louisiana. The accident took place in the river off the Tribeca neighborhood. New York police said residents should expect emergency vehicles and traffic delays in the surrounding areas. OpenAI has filed a counter-suit against Elon Musk, accusing the billionaire of launching a relentless campaign to undermine the companies after it achieved major breakthroughs without his involvement. Now, in documents submitted to a federal court in Northern California, OpenAI claims Musk turned hostile after walking away from the organization years before the success of ChatGPT. Now, the company alleges Musk is now actively trying to dismantle OpenAI and promote his rival AI startup, xAI, for personal gain. Musk, who co-founded OpenAI in 2015, left the company in 2018 after reportedly clashing with its leadership over control. OpenAI claims Musk failed to deliver on his $1 billion funding promise and later sought to fold the company into Tesla. The countersuit also accuses Musk of launching public attacks via X, the platform he owns, and attempting a sham acquisition of OpenAI's assets. The legal battle intensifies as OpenAI undergoes a restructuring to become a public benefit corporation, a move Musk has criticized. The company is seeking an injunction against Musk's action and damages for alleged harm to the company's reputation and operations. Now, moving on, jailed Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu will appear in court on Friday on charges of insulting and threatening a public official. İmamoğlu is accused of making threats against the prosecutor, Akin Gürlek, during a speech on 20th January this year. Now, the hearing on Friday is expected to take place at the courthouse in Silivri prison, where he is currently being detained. This will be the first public appearance of İmamoğlu after his detention, if he is allowed into the courtroom. Now, he previously appeared in court on 31st January to deny charges that he had attempted to influence the judiciary. Imamoglu, a member of the main opposition Republican People's Party, or CHP, was detained on 19th March, and a court jailed him on 23rd March, pending trial on corruption charges that he denies. Imamoglu's CHP party has called for a public gathering in front of the prison complex. Coming up, Lyon snatched last gasp draw against Man United in Europa League. The National Sports Council, MSN, welcomed the International Olympic Committee's IOC decision to list a mixed team compound archery event among the medal offering events at the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games, or LA28. MSN Director General Jeffrey Ngadirin said the development opens up additional opportunities for Malaysia to hunt for medals at the prestigious Games. According to Jeffrey, it is because the National Compound Archery Squad has managed to exhibit impressive performances in recent times. Meanwhile, Jeffrey said for the compound event, the national squad has also several archers who have managed excellent results that everyone can be proud, including Alang Arif Akil Muhammad Ghazali and Fatin Nur Fatehah Mat Saleh, who won gold in the mixed team event at the Asian Cup in Bangkok last February. He said Malaysia also has an experienced compound archer, Muhammad Juwaidi Mazuki, who was ranked 20th in the world and won a bronze medal at the World Compound Archery Championships in Antalya, Turkey in 2023. MSN currently has made compound archers of 4 men and 4 women in the podium program since 2018, who are being prepared for major tournaments at the world level. Among the other achievements include gold medals in the men's team event at the 2023 and 2024 Asian Cups and bronze medals at the 2018 and 2022 Asian Games. A stoppage time finish from Ryan Sheki earned Olympique Lyonnais a dramatic 2-2 draw with Manchester United in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final early this morning, with visiting goalkeeper Andre Onana's errors costing his side dear. For all their domestic struggles, the Europa League has been a safe haven for United this season, with Ruben Amorim's side coming into today's first leg as the only team in this year's competition unbeaten. Onana was the center of attention in the Groupama Stadium after pre-match war of words with Lyon midfielder Nemanja Matic, and the pressure told as his mistake gifted Thiago Almada a 25-minute opener. A timely equalizer right on half-time from Lenny Yoro, the young centre-back's first goal for United since joining in the close season, levelled things up before Joshua Zirkzee's late header looked to have earned the visitors a battling victory. Cherki, however, capitalized on another Onana error when the Cameroonian could only push Georges Mikautadzi's shot straight out to him, denying United a win to galvanize their disappointing season. It means since the start of last season, Onana has made 8 errors leading to goals in all competitions, the most of any keeper playing for a Premier League club. In Poland, it was a 19-year-old winger, Tyrink George, would always remember as he grabbed his first senior Chelsea goal as the Blues looked to have continued their routine progress through Europe's third-tier competition. Enzo's Maresca's side have been tipped to win the Conference League right from the start of their campaign, and they cruised to a 3-0 away win over Polish side Legia Warsaw in the first leg of their After a poor first half, Chelsea only needed 4 minutes of the second to open the scoring, with George reacting quickest to convert the rebound after Reece James' effort had been parried. George, who has been with the club since he was 8, was understandably delighted with his first goal for the club. 2 goals for Noni Madueke, the second coming shortly after Christopher Nkunku had seen his penalty saved, completed the convincing 3-0 victory to take Chelsea a step closer to getting their hands on a European trophy this season. France captain Kylian Mbappe's legal team have applied to the French sports minister and UEFA for his former club Paris Saint-Germain to pay him €55 million in unpaid wages, and said several of the club's accounts had been frozen on Thursday. The French league LFP ordered PSG to pay the player last year, but the French Football Federation ruled that Mbappe's request was inadmissible because of an ongoing procedure in a civil court. Mbappe's legal team, however, have turned to Paris court to freeze €55 million in PSG's accounts. PSG said in October that they would be forced to bring the case before the competent courts, while they were still trying to find an amicable solution with Mbappe. Mbappe's lawyers on Thursday said they would submit their case before the Labour Chamber. PSG had also said that Mbappe had refused an offer from the LFP to mediate on the issue. Another lawyer, Pierre-Olivier Sur, said they had filed a complaint for harassment, claiming PSG put pressure on Mbappe to extend his contract in 2023, 1 year before it ended. The League One champions, however, argue that Mbappe's contract was legally amended and that the forward had reneged on commitments when he left the Paris club to join Real Madrid. Magnus Carlsen booked his spot in the Paris Freestyle Chess Grand Slam semi-final after beating Uzbekistan's Nodirbek Abdusatorov on Thursday. Carlsen's victory came from a game that initially resembled the King's Indian defense, though, the Norwegian noted its structural similarities to the French defense. The strong positional approach with a solid pawn structure allowed Carlsen to seize the initiative early, and although Abdusatorov sought counterplay by sacrificing a couple of pawns to activate his queen. In the resulting position with a queen and a rook per side, Carlsen gradually converted his material advantage into a crucial victory. The world number 1 from Norway will next face Fabiano Caruana after the Italian-American saw off Frenchman Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. American Hikaru Nakamura and Germany's Vincent Kema completed the semi-final lineup following respective wins over Arjun Erigaisi of India and Russian Ian Nepovnyachi. India's reigning world chess champion Gukesh Domaraju lost to Hungarian Richard Rapport in the 9th 12th place bracket and was eliminated with a shared 11th place finish. That concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Malaysia calls for a special US-ASEAN summit on tariffs. Till then, I'm Otto Othman. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching. Have a pleasant day ahead.